Deon Taylor, director of the upcoming movie The Intruder. How's it going, sir?
Man, it's going great. I'm excited. Excited to be on the phone with you, man.
Cool, appreciate it. So I got a question. The last movie I saw of yours, I believe it was Traffic, and I guess for you, you wrote and directed that movie, and this time in this movie, The Intruder, you're in pretty much doing producing and directing. Is those roles kind of interchangeable, going from that movie where you were writing to just producing on this film?
Yeah, I'm just a creative, man. I mean, my love is directing. But I'm, if there's a script that's given to me, I love it. I'm all in. I guess I would be untraditional. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes people get kind of stuck in a world where they're like, oh, I write everything I do.
Yeah.
I'm not that. I just love good stories, man. My strong suit is directing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's always interchangeable for me depending on whatever the project is. And, I've kind of grown into this position because I'm self-taught as a filmmaker, and we're an independent film company. So a lot of times that means you have to wear all the hats. And, when there's opportunities where we could take a hat off, we welcome that. We welcome that with open arms, man.
Cool. What was interesting, I saw the trailer for this, and it felt different because, this is kind of a genre, a thriller genre where we've seen the typical kind of like, a person stalking a couple in some different ways. And this feels like it's a bit different because this time this is a guy that sold his house, and yet he's stalking this couple in his own house, which is kind of, it's a bit different than what we've typically seen. So for you, how was it, directing, especially particularly with Dennis Quaid, because I've never seen Dennis Quaid kind of be in this kind of particular role. So how was it kind of, directing him and getting the kind of visuals and style that you're kind of going for this film?
Yeah, it's funny, man, that you asked, the question. The trailer's doing extremely well. It's a lot of anticipation for the movie, but, you do get a lot of people like, oh, I've seen this movie before. Oh, man, I see that movie just like that. You know what I mean? I'm like, man, like, you haven't seen this movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's interesting, man. There's 10 movies that every movie recycles through.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and people don't really understand that. Like, you're going to find some movie that resembles some movie every time you watch something,
Yeah.
This movie to me is its own thing. I'm really excited about it because, you hit two great points. Number one, Dennis Quaid, you've never seen that.
Yeah.
Right?
Never.
So, you talking about a legend playing, something he's never done, going against type. And I think when you have those types of, legendary actors that are doing something unique and different, you have to really pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Secondly, I've never seen a film, set in this world. Like, in other words, it is a very, very twisted movie.
Yeah.
Although the trailer kind of shows you a little bit of how it looks and what you might think is going to happen, you're going to be pleasantly surprised when you get in the theater, and I think that's why the attention is growing around the movie. It has a bunch of twists and turns, and I think it ends very differently than a lot of people are anticipating. Like, we have people cheering in the theater, and part of that is because it was done independently.
Yeah.
A lot of times you see these movies, that have been done directly from the studio system, and you get the studio ending. You get the studio, the same format. This movie is like, no, we don't have that format.
Yeah.
We're playing with a lot of stuff, man. A lot of stuff make you get up, move, turn your head. Can't believe they did that. It's fun, man, and that's what I'm most excited about. So it might have the same feeling and energy when you look at it, but yeah, it's a different, it's a surprise in the end.
Cool. Now, like, I know outside of like the horror movie that you did was a Chain Letter and such, have you always wanted to kind of like get back into doing that kind of full blown horror movie again, or you kind of want to just kind of put like sort of variety for yourself, pretty much?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I like the idea of all the genres. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think they're all extremely interesting. And one thing that I've been very prideful of is, being one of the first ever, African American filmmakers that check all the boxes for film.
Yeah.
And I've only been able to do that because I am independent. But what that means is, when you think of certain filmmakers that are African American, you think directly of one thing that they do extremely well.
Yeah.
Right? So if you say, oh, Spike Lee, you know a Spike Lee movie. If you say Tyler Perry, you know a Tyler Perry movie.
Mm-hmm.
With me, we've been very successful in terms of being able to do comedies, urban comedies, so things like Meet the Blacks.
Yeah.
We've been very successful with things like Supremacy and Traffic, which was just nominated for NAACP Movie of the Year award. And, and now also in this space, the thriller horror space. Mm-hmm. So I'm really driving, man. I'm really driving personally to continue to get better at all of these genres, because I want to be able to tell stories that I want to tell and not be locked in or boxed in, just because of my ethnicity or because Hollywood says this is what you have to be.
Yeah, you're definitely right, because I've always, we've always on our podcast, we've always, we do different genres of movies and stuff, and whenever we end up spotlighting or happen to come upon a movie that has a black director, it's always interesting seeing their filmography, and it's like, oh, they did comedy and they've done action and they've done thrillers, and it's always good to kind of have that variety, so to speak. Or some directors do choose to stay in that one lane where they like doing certain things. So it's actually cool to see you kind of like, all right, I like doing horror, but I have the thriller, and like you said, you have all these other genres that you're trying to dip a toe into and such. So that's actually pretty good. So when you did Meet the Blacks, what was your aim going to that film? Were you just kind of like, hey, it felt like the movie to me, because I actually watched it. It felt like it was trying to do a homage to like the Wayans brothers, like the scary movie films. Was that kind of like your aim, or were you just trying to like, hey, I want to do something completely kind of like different?
No, that movie was probably one of the biggest blessings of my life, man. It really was, man. And you would be, it's just crazy how life works.
Yeah.
Meet the Blacks. I had just finished a movie called Supremacy.
Yeah.
And we were really pushing that film for, some award contingency. Like, we really were in some heavy talk for Supremacy. I shot the movie 16 millimeter, Mahershala Ali, Danny Glover, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I shot it for $2 million.
Yeah.
And I didn't get the home that I wanted to get for that movie. Like, it didn't get the correct distribution, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, really, like, as an independent filmmaker, like, dude, I'm tired. Like, I don't want to do any more movies, Mm-hmm. And Meet the Blacks came because Mike Epps and I ended up meeting up. He was like, dude, I want to do something fun, man. I want to do a horror movie like you be doing, man. And I was just like, man, I ain't doing no damn horror movie with you. And we ended up laughing and talking. And I went and seen a movie called The Purge.
Yeah.
And I remember just being in the movie watching The Purge, and this lady was screaming in the theater like, you better not go down there. Oh, they tripping. And I'm like, oh, my God, this is... And I left there, and I remember going like, oh, you know what? I know it'll be really funny. And at the time, Roxanne was there, and she was like, what? And I said, man, like a black purge. Right? And that's how it came about. And it was just a fun idea. Mm-hmm. We ended up doing the movie for like no money, like literally under $1 million. And it was only supposed to be like a fun idea. And what ended up happening, I'm gonna tell you how God works, man, and how things can happen when you don't know why they're happening, and then they take on a bigger effect.
Yeah.
We took that movie and finished it. I shot that movie in 15 days.
Wow.
Right? I was like, oh man, it's pretty funny. Right?
Yeah.
As I was doing it, the one thing that I wanted to do, I didn't want to make it for anyone else but for one particular audience, right? And that was going to be like the culture, the urban audience. I didn't care about anything else.
Yeah.
So I allowed all the comedians to come into that movie and do what they wanted to do. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that was it, because I was a fan of all of them. Anyways, we finished the movie, and I go out to sell it, right?
Yeah.
Because it was independent. And everybody's like laughing at it, and then they're offering me like these deals that are like absolutely ridiculous. And it was the first time I had sold 4 movies previous to Meet the Blacks. That movie was the first time me and my partner looked at each other and said, we're not going to give these people no more movies for no money. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they just keep, we're watching our movies on TV and we're not being paid.
Yeah.
Right? And we had the craziest idea. I looked at her and I said, hey, what if we put this movie in the theaters by ourselves? And I remember us laughing about it.
Yeah.
And a week later, I went and found $1 million from my investor, and we put that movie into the theater by ourselves.
Wow.
So we put that movie in theaters. We cut our own trailers. We made our own posters. We did our own online marketing. Roxanne booked Mike Epps on ESPN and a couple other shows, right?
Yeah.
We did everything from 1 to 100 in the front room of our house.
Wow.
Like you would put out a mixtape, right?
Wow, that's wild.
And we put the movie into 800 screens.
Mm-hmm.
We sat back and we did we had all the talent do Instagram, all the talent do Facebook. The movie opened up against Batman versus Superman, and it opened number 4 in the country.
Wow, that's pretty good. That's hell of
right?
That's pretty damn good.
Now, it's incredible, right?
Yeah.
So after we did that, it was the most nerve-wracking point we've ever had because we were like, yo, we missed. If this movie, because I was thinking like, damn, please God, if it just makes $1 million, we're gonna be okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let alone make $10 million in the box office, and then not only do $10 million in the box office, but continue to make money forever.
Yeah.
And now you own it. That movie set the precedence for us as a company, because then what happened was we realized, oh man, you know what? Maybe we can do this on our own. Yeah. And maybe what we're fighting for as African-American producers and directors in terms of like begging someone to put our movie out, maybe we could just, if we figure this out the correct way, you could put all your movies out. Yeah. And that gave us so much energy, man. So when the next movie I did was The Intruder, right?
Yeah.
And those movies were like, okay, now when we go and we have a conversation with the studio, they now have to really pay attention to what we're asking for, what we want, because guess what? These cats is crazy enough to put it out themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that's what happens. And that's how that happened. That movie changed our whole trajectory in terms of what we were doing as Hidden Empire in our company.
Yeah, I mean, because, I always say that, like, it's always good to kind of have counter-programming to whoever big movie's out and stuff. And I think that weekend, like I said, you going up against Batman v Superman, to get in 4th place like that, that's actually pretty amazing. You're like top 5 of the weekend. That's pretty amazing considering that movie didn't bury you guys. You actually came out pretty good and stuff. So, I mean, clearly people were just hey, I want to see something different than Batman v Superman. Let me watch this comedy over here, while everybody else
and it was great, man. And it had the highest per-screen average. So, that was like, for me, that's where we really put our flag in the ground. Like, man, because, we're a black-owned production company. Yeah. Black-owned financing. You know what I mean? Like, it's just us. Mm-hmm. And that was the first time I really took a step back. Like, man, this is what it's really about, is ownership. Yeah. You know what I mean? And trying to figure out how do you really make your mark, man? Because everyone's work for hire. Yeah. Right? Everyone that I look at that's my color is work for hire.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I'm going like, why? How do you change the narrative, man? Mm-hmm. How do you really set yourself up to where you could do something great and your kids will be able to experience what you did this lifetime?
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're like, instead of me getting, you pay me $1 million to go direct your movie, it'd be fantastic, man, if you gave me a little bit of ownership and back end, so that way if it makes $1 billion, right? Like, my family can eat off of it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
The Black Panther thing is, you get residuals and all the things from the union, but the reality is, what is that? Marvel will make, Black Panther over the next 10 years will probably make $8-9 billion. Mm-hmm. How does that compare to you being paid $750,000?
Yeah, I mean, that is the end result, is basically being able to get kind of like, hey, I got a good chunk of what I actually put into it. So yeah, makes 100%
Yeah.
sense.
So anyway, so that's just the the mindset. So the Intruder was fantastic, man, because Sony, man, what a beautiful company. Like, I mean, seriously, Sony Screen Gems came in, seen what I was doing. A couple of the executives were like, man, this guy here, he's got it dialed in. And they came and made a wonderful deal with us with the Intruder, to where we have ownership in our title. You know what I mean? They partnered with the movie. They're doing a marvelous job taking it out. And since then, we've now partnered on 2 more films. You know what I mean? So that to me is like how you win. But I don't think I get to that place had I not done a Meet the Blacks.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's always all it takes is just that one movie and such. So I mean, that's always great. Before I go, you have an upcoming movie, Black and Blue, and I saw the casting list. And again, just like Traffic and Intruder, you got a pretty good amount of good name people on this list and stuff. I see Mike Coulter, I see Naomi Harris and Frank Grillo and Tyrese and such. So, can you give us like a little nugget of what you're trying to go for with this film?
Well, you mean for Intruder?
Well, no, for Black and Blue. Black and Blue. That's coming. Yeah.
Yeah. So that film, man, is a really special movie. That's Naomi Harris and Tyrese, and I just think that movie. The reason why I stepped into that world was because I had never seen a film following a black female police officer. I can't name one.
I don't think there's none.
And I said, man, and I said, wow, how often do you get to say that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, man, that's crazy. And it's not a comedy. You know what I mean? It's not like, it's not Police Academy. I was like, man, this is like a true story about a young black lady who's on the force, who witnesses something. And I just thought to myself, through that lens was enough for me to sign up. And, it played a really big role in my life for a couple of months because, independently, I had just done Traffic, which, I thought was a really, really cool movie to break the mold and break the ice in terms of like tying a real systemic problem into a thriller so people could see it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And this one was like, man, when I read the script, I was like, all right, they got a lot of action, a lot of running, jumping. It's cool, but I was like, man, if we really took some time to just show people the difference between what Black and Blue really means, and what does that mean? That means that when you're on the other side of the law, you really don't have a color. You're blue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're looked at that way. And I felt like, man, what a special movie to make, especially with all of the, police brutality and all the injustices and, I had seen this one picture, man, like 3 months ago before I shot the film. It was in Ferguson, and it was all the white police officers holding their shields with all the crowd pushing back. And it was a row of 100 police officers in tactical gear. And at the very end of this row of 100 officers was one black officer holding a shield with a tear in his eye. And I thought to myself, could you imagine? Like, that's where you're from. That's the people you know. But you're on this side of the line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's all erupted because of racial tension. So I just thought this movie was really, really cool, man. And I will tell you, man, I will guarantee you this movie will prove Naomi Harris is probably arguably one of the hottest actresses we've seen of this generation. She's incredible in the film.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. But, definitely appreciate you for jumping on here real quick, talk about Intruder. Definitely interested in seeing where this movie goes. Hey, I wish you all the best in the future.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much for the time, brother. And I can't wait to read what you write, man. And keep up the great work, man.
All right, appreciate it, man. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Phoebe.